Okay. Doing Legends of Runeterra patch notes. Now, I know I have no one who watches this channel, but if you did, you'd probably note you haven't done lore content in like a whole year. What is this shit? It's just like, well, you know, I'm doing it anyway. Like, deal. Okay, cool.
I know one person will probably watch this video.
Yeah, maybe. But, yeah. Anyway. Legends of Runeterra, patch 3.0. Been waiting for a patch for a while because Bandle City is toxic as hell and it needs to go. Pretty much,
Prepare to be surprised. They don't hit it really very hard at all, and they hit a lot of other decks, or they buff a lot of other decks that are really annoying up. So we're gonna see how this goes.
yeah, I mean, they hit Bandle City, but they didn't hit many more. Spoiler alert. FML. Anyway, Scion. Scion, was kind of really good. I'm not gonna lie to you. He was really good. But, in my opinion, he sucks now.
They only nerfed 2 damage across the board on every single form.
Yeah, but it actually does mean a lot, because you literally just end the game by running Scion into face twice. So him not having 10 damage means that he literally can't beat you if you just play him, and then he dies, and then you hit again. Which, you know, some might argue is a good thing, and I would agree with you. It is a good thing that he doesn't just win the game instantly. But I think I would have been happier if they nerfed him, maybe even nerfed him the way they nerfed him already, but also gave him maybe 1 less health and made him a 6 cost instead. I don't know. Because I think Sion's gonna be trash now. Maybe
I think you're overestimating how bad this is going to be. He levels up just as quickly, and his level up is what really matters, I think, for him being, like, really, really scary. Because he attacks, and then he dies, and then he attacks again.
Because...
And you're removing 4 damage from that, but I think... Because from that double attack when he levels...
I mean, the rally's good, but if he doesn't die, he doesn't get it. And not only that, but it's like... His whole gimmick is that he's just overwhelmed damage. So removing 2 attack from that is big. And it's not necessarily just 2 attack either, right? Because you can't really play base Scion anymore. Granted, you weren't already, but, you know, you can't do it now. And... it's just, it removes 2 damage from his normal form and 2 damage from his revive form. So it's essentially a 4 damage reduction.
That's what I was saying. It's a 4 damage nerf on his when he levels combo.
Yeah.
I think that they could have made him a 1 less health and 1 less mana. I think that would have been fair. Because I think that the thing they're trying to nerf here is just losing from full despite you having a board.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that,
but then you need to give him a little bit of a helping hand in some ways. And a 2 damage nerf is pretty big on him. But we'll see. We'll see.
Ash. Frostbite decks are kind of toxic.
Yeah, this is... Honestly, I don't even think this is a big change, because the Frostbite decks already run like 50 billion Frostbite to proc.
Yeah, you didn't usually... If you played Ash on 4, she wasn't usually leveled, but generally after she attacked, the first turn she can attack, she levels. So it's not really a big deal.
I don't think she needed this. I'm gonna be honest.
I don't think this really does anything.
Ash was already a good... I think she was already a good card. I think she already saw play, and her leveling up early isn't gonna make it different. It's not like she's been having trouble leveling up against most decks. The decks that she had trouble leveling up against were already like not good decks for her to play against. So it's not gonna change much.
Yeah, I think overall, like, if Ash was weak, she wasn't weak because she didn't level on, in my opinion. I don't think this is gonna do anything. This is essentially not a patch note. IMO.
It's a little bit of a patch note for me because I hate playing against Frostbite decks.
Trundle. His health was nerfed a while ago by 1. They buffed it back up by 1.
Don't like that, but
I
That's
kind
okay.
of thought it was a good move to nerf Trundle because he was insane at the time. But now he's like, he's still good. He's still good. But having health on a regenerator unit is just great. It helps with
Yeah,
ramp.
it's gonna be real hard to remove this unit now. He was removable as a 4/5 with regenerator, but as a 4/6 with regenerator, I don't see you
It's
ever
hard.
getting a decent chance to remove this champ. He's just gonna stay on board forever.
Yeah. Nivea gets +1/+1. Honest to God, this does literally nothing. This
Um,
card, this card's not a body. It's just not. Like even at 6 mana, right? A 6 mana 4/6 at 10 mana, you're playing a 6 mana 4/6? No, like this is bad.
I don't know. I think it makes a bigger difference for their removal status because getting rid of them when they have 6 health is going to be real hard.
Yeah,
Even
but
5 early, if you could snipe the egg, you have to have a lot more damage.
the
To put
reason
out.
it doesn't matter is because in Anivia's only one viable deck, you kill her yourself even. Like,
Yeah,
not only do you want her to die, you want her to die a lot because you just win off not Ruination, you win off Harrowing Anivia and Rekindler Anivia and like stuff like that.
that's true.
Like this does I agree that Anivia
But
isn't very strong, and I think this
counterpoint,
does nothing.
counterpoint. If you're running, this gives her more options to be run with Rekindler with because she has one more attack now. She can be your strongest champ with like a two strength champ as well if you're running Rekindler in here.
That is true. You could run her with like Braum or something if you wanted to, and she could still get rekindled.
Well,
Which
I mean, she
is
already
nice.
could do with Braum, but
Yeah, because Braum would have like one attack only. Levels.
like Elise, you could run her with Elise.
You
Guarantee
could.
that you summon her or something. I don't know.
It wouldn't be the worst, but it's Anivia's a toxic deck. This doesn't buff her deck at all, in my opinion. Kindred lost a health and a cost.
Why? Why did this champ get buffed so much? That's a huge buff. That's a huge
It's
buff.
kind of weird.
It's losing a health on a quick attack unit. Like, who cares?
It is a buff to Kindred, don't get me wrong. But I think the issues with Kindred wasn't Kindred, right? Like, I think, at 5 mana, like, as a 5 mana 4/4, I think Kindred was fine. I just think the biggest issue with her is how her marks actually work. Like,
They kill the weakest enemy and only at the end of the round, so people just
yeah.
do something with
So
them. Yeah.
you usually, they just trade into you, so they just die, and it's just kind of like, eh. I mean, granted, if they die, you still get the proc on it for Kindred. It's just, as a control card, kind of sucks. As like a mid-range tempo card, Kindred might find a home. So, I don't know. Maybe her being 4 mana, she could be run in a different package now.
I think you're gonna be surprised. This card's gonna be way better after this change. Like,
I'm
way
not saying
better.
it's not going to be better, but I think the decks that you're running her in might just be different as well. Yeah,
I think it'll be more early game focused for sure, but yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. I think this card might be nuts, but it probably won't be. We'll see though. Maokai. This is kind of a meme change, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It does nothing in Deep, which is the only deck you run Maokai in. But if you run him with Ephemeral Summon, like, Death synergy, that is Maokai's second best deck, which is very not good at all, you get Saplings now. Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. I mean, it's if whenever you summon instead of whenever you play, it doesn't make a huge difference, but you know, it's there. It makes it a little bit better, I think. I don't know.
I mean, it is just better. Like, now
It's
you
just
can
a
run
little
him
less
with...
clunky.
Yeah, if you run him
I
with,
don't
like,
think it's gonna make
Haunting
any-
Relic and Hecarim now, he can be used in that deck, and he's not worthless. But it's probably still bad.
I think this unit
see.
stats are just unreasonably low still. I never saw why Maokai was a 4 mana 1/4. You can give him one more attack, I think, and he'd be like a real unit.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he gets regeneration on level up is, like, pointless too.
Pointless.
He
too,
should just
yeah.
have it. If they're gonna give it to him, he should just have it. Because
I-
by
I
the
just-
time he levels, like, he already did his win con, because that's all he
Yeah.
wants to do.
Yeah.
Darius has 1 more health. This is
And 2 more health when
This-
he levels.
this is nothing.
This is, man. I just why buff Darius?
Yeah,
I guess he wasn't seeing you play, but to be honest, I don't think Darius is a super
this is nothing.
healthy card for the game.
Yeah, this card is just you pull him out with Thresh sometimes and one-shot the enemy. Like, he sucks. I guess, to be fair, now that Scion is nerfed, Darius isn't literally just worse Scion. Because he was before.
Well, Darius is just Scion if you don't want to run discard cards, right?
Yeah,
But Tryndamere is also Darius if you don't want to run discard cards, and is also way better because he,
yeah.
he dies, he comes back, he just swings again.
So Doris, once again, you just pull him out with Thresh, and he hits for 10 sometimes and wins sometimes. 90% of the time, this card does nothing and isn't even a champ. He's literally just a follower.
I think that they should make that card have something more distinct than what it has. It's probably the most like
He needs text.
basic. Yeah, he needs text. He's the most basic card in the game. He needs to do something else.
Like, literally anything. Like, they could just make it to where, oh, when he levels up... Like, what if they kind of did it with Pyke? I know that'd be toxic, but, they could change his stats to compensate. To where it's like his ulti. To where if you block with a unit and he kills it, he, like, ult resets and kills another unit. Like, that'd be cool.
You get to then use another free attack with just Darius that round for every unit he kills,
Yeah, that could be interesting.
and like take away Overwhelm or I don't know, because that would be really toxic with Overwhelm.
I mean, it'd
but
be
maybe you
fine
could've
with
just-
Overwhelm as long as he wasn't a 10-7, but yeah,
Yeah,
you
that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Anyway,
it's not in terms of balance, but this is just something that should have always been.
that
as well.
I don't understand why it wasn't, but I'm glad. This is one of the buffs I'm actually happy about.
Every time I play Diana and she's not leveled, it's just like, oh, well, I used my challenger once, so I guess she doesn't get challenger. Or even
Yeah, she
worse,
just
you
gets
play
it,
her
she
on
just sits
2
there.
or something, and you don't get the challenger, and then you can never get the challenger. It's just like,
Yeah.
This
But-
is a good quality of life change.
Yeah, I think that needed to happen.
Probably not that good with Nocturne, but might see play in Aphelios? I don't know.
I'm already running Diana, so Probably
Xerath
hope
gets
a
1
little
more
bit stronger.
health.
that's actually big because a 4-mana unit, like I've always said, like the big break in how sticky unit is, I think is between 3 and 4. There's a lot of things that can
Yeah.
be removed easily with 2. There's a lot of 3-attack units too. Like 3 is not a safe health.
This
to be at.
this is actually meaningful. Almost
This is
all
a
the time
huge
when I
buff.
play Xerath, he just gets get excited or aftershocked or something like instantly
Yeah.
when I play him.
Yeah.
Now he'll live.
But the biggest thing is his evolved form is actually very good now. I'd say it's
Depends.
You can actually run Mono Shreem and Landmark now. Because
His-
before
His evolve form is good, but if you're playing him with Azir, it's barely a change.
Oh yeah, no. I think this is a new like if you want to evolve him and then run him without Azir, like doing just a Landmark Mono Shreem deck.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
can actually do that now.
If you run Mono Shurima without the Emperor's deck,
Mhm.
Xerath might actually pop off. You could run him
Yeah.
with Renekton
could run him with, like,
or
Nasus or Renekton, yeah.
That could be interesting. Anyway, it's a reasonable buff. It's gonna be better in Zerazillion. Mono Shurima probably will still not be good, but they've gotten a couple buffs in this, and I love
Yeah.
Mono Shurima, so
Yeah.
Bandles
This-
in there.
This is a good change.
Thank God for
Thank
this.
God.
Yeah, you would just get like a Proto Poro or something, and you'd play like 40 cards in one turn because you got Bandle City Mare. This card
A
sucks.
loping telescope.
Yeah.
Do not let them play like 5 copies of that card in a turn. Holy.
It's
Moly.
really annoying.
I'm real glad this card got nerfed.
Yeah.
And
me
this
too.
is a reasonable nerf too, right? Like it's still a really good card. It's just not disgusting and not like so scary to leave on board.
Yeah, no, I agree. This card is better than 90% of the champions in the game.
Yeah.
Now, it's only better than 50% of the champions in the game, but we'll take it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a much better.
Shellfolk's health is going down. It's killable now. It kind of wasn't, but 6 health was actually kind of hard to deal with.
This card is dead. As far as I'm concerned, at 6 mana, when you're near this spot in the game, if somebody plops down a 4/4, there's so many ways you could kill it at that.
I don't think this card's dead. I think in combo decks that you want to run Shellfolk in, Shellfolk's still gonna be good. You still run pranks, you still steal opponents' cards, they still cost 1 less. It's still pretty good. It's just, you can't really run Shellfolk in just like any deck that creates cards now. Like it's just not a good enough body.
I think that this card is going to be dead, and I'll tell you why. Is because you'll still get the turn that you play it. You'll still get a bunch of stuff off, but you're going to have that turn prepped and ready to go. And the next turn after, it's just gonna die. I don't see any way that it just doesn't die to like a challenger or something. If it stays on board and you just don't block with it even, then you might just lose the game. Because
yeah, to be fair, Screeching Dragon's in the game, a single combat's in the game. Spoiler alert, 6 mana Vengeance is in the game.
Yeah, that is... We'll talk about that.
It might die. I don't think it'll die, but it might die. Lecturing Yordle now no longer creates the poison dart when you play him. I'm okay with that.
I never really got why he did that.
Yeah, it was just kind of like he can do it because now he's a better unit because he can. It's just like, alright.
Because he used to guaranteed give you 2, pretty much, unless somebody was stupid enough to use removal before he swung, because, like, why would you even bother?
Yeah.
Now he'll give you 1 guaranteed, probably still give you 2. It's still a really good card. He's a
good card. He's a 4 mana 3/5 still that gives you value. Like,
I don't know. This card is a lot weaker, but I don't see it going away.
Monster Harpoon. I didn't think this card was too strong. I think most people who read these patch notes didn't think this card was too strong. But hey, now it's a 4 mana deal 5 instead of a 3 mana deal 5.
Gonna be honest, I almost never even use the Plunder on this card, so this is like barely a change for me. In the decks I use this in, I use it as a control card. It's just a bad control card, but it's all you really have in Bilgewater, which is what you need for this like cost and part of your deck sometimes. So,
I mean, I still think a 4 mana deal 5 is good. So
I think it's still good, but it's a little bit of a nerf. But I'm actually not mad about it, even though I run this card sometimes.
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's that bad. I think if you're playing Monster Harpoon, it's still a good card.
Well, a lot of the times you just need to play it like immediately on like a champ before they get to do anything.
Yeah.
Like this is a good Heim remover right here. You know, this is a good. There's a lot of champs that have 5 health or less. That you
honestly,
can
just use this on Zoe, and they're like, how many cards do you have in hand? But It That Stares. This is actually a meaningful buff. Doing 2 damage to all other units, most of their units will live. Doing 3 damage to all their units, all of their small units are dead now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like 3 is the breakpoint for small units versus big units in this game, pretty much. So
no one was running this card really. So if people are gonna run this card, that's cool. I think it's a cool card, and I'd be glad to see it in play. I think this is a good buff.
Yeah, it's a neat card. 8 mana, 8/8, just control card.
Just don't give it 4 damage, because then you've gone too far.
Yeah, I agree. That's way too much. Voices now draws 1 more card in theory. I guess it's pretty much the exact same card.
You know, it's a bit stronger.
For 8 mana, you could gain 5 cards. You could draw 5, which is insanely good, but you won't.
I hate this deck archetype, but this card was not the reason why. So,
Iceborn Legacy goes from slow to burst. This is an
Thank
enormous
you
change.
so much. This card was so garbage before, and I've been trying to run this card in a couple of decks, and it just does not work. But
Yeah, there's this really cool thing that you do where it's like, oh, I want to go like Iceborn Legacy spiders, right? So you use it on a
Mhm.
spider, and then someone Mystic shots your spider, and then you're like, well, I lose.
yeah, it's so bad. This card needed to be a burst card to even be playable because you don't want to use it on big minions because you're not going to play a bunch of those. You need to use it on small minions. But 90% of the time, if it's a slow spell, they're just going to kill the unit you're targeting before it even goes off, and you just lose the game outright. You spent 5 mana to do nothing.
Yeah, it was so unbelievably bad. It's a fun card that I still liked, all right? I liked running this card, but it's...
I think you could maybe make an Iceborn Legacy deck now. You could maybe actually make it work.
Oh, yeah.
Before, not a chance. Not a chance.
I gotta remake my Iceborn Legacy Starbone doggo
Yo,
deck.
I want to make that deck now too. I was just thinking about that. Like that deck was not playable before. Now it is. Now it totally is. Yeah.
I mean, not only that, but a side grade that makes this also better is that it's basically a combat trick now as well. So you just need a sharp side essentially for 5 mana, just because you have it in your deck and you need it that turn, you have it.
If you're gonna use it anyway, you might as well wait until you're in combat before you pop it, so that people get like messed up. You know.
Yeah. So he's good. It's
good.
Legitimately, I think this is a good card now.
I really like that buff.
Rhyme Tusk goes to 4 health.
Why? I hate this. I hate this so much. This card was already one of the most frustrating cards in the game. No one ever swings with this card.
No,
ever.
No, so that's why the health
getting
matters.
rid of this is removal. But now they've added a health to it, so almost all removal won't kill this.
I think
this card is going to be horribly toxic. They did not need this card to be buffed.
Yeah, I think this card is cancer, but also I think that it was unbelievably bad before, so I understand where this buff is coming from. I think this card might see play now, which is a bad thing in my opinion, but we'll see. It having 4 health matters for sure.
I do not want this card to be this. I hope they revert this change at some point because
also Ash buff, baby, Ash buff.
Yeah, they buffed Ash along with it, but like who cares?
That's
not going to change that. If you're playing, if you're at 5 mana and you play this card, like Ash has already been leveled.
Yeah, true.
For like ages, probably.
Poro Herder, this does nothing. Literally, your whole deck is 1 mana Poros. You have a Poro on board if you play this. There might be a chance that you didn't draw 1 mana Poro, and then you play this, then you draw your Poro, I guess.
The only difference here is that if you have like Heart of the Fluff on board,
yeah,
like,
but
you just lost Heart of the Fluff. I don't know. I think it's slightly better.
It's definitely slightly better, but it does nothing, and not only does it not do anything, you usually cut this card from Poros, because guess what? It doesn't say Poro up here.
That's
so it's not that good. It's fine, but it's a draw 1. Like, it's an okay-ish body. Like, you're drawing honestly, a 1 mana minion 90% of the time.
Poro decks are kind of a joke. This card being slightly different is not going to make Poro decks any good anytime soon.
No, like, unless they change it to, if you behold a Poro, like, create an Aurora Borealis in hand, then this card's going to be cracked, but, you know. Chump Wump. I hate this change.
Why? Yes. There's another one where they just give a unit randomly for
I hate this change.
Why do they do this?
There was a time where Chump Wump was a 4/4 in the past. They made it a 4/3 because it was too good as a 4/4. I agreed with them then, and I still think this card is dumb as a 4/3. I hate this card. Now it's a 4/4.
This card did not need buffing. This card was... You already play it as an aggressive card. It shouldn't be able to trade in twice to things if you're... This is just way too much. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, most people who are seeing this will probably be like, but mushrooms aren't even good. Like, Chump Wump's bad. It's just like...
You might as well run this in any...
Yeah,
it's
just
a 4/4 that gives you 2 spells to play in hand that can trigger so many things.
Yeah, like...
This card is now disgusting.
Just run it
in
any PNZ discard, any Victor deck. Just do it. Like, it's 2 created cards. They cost 0 if you have leveled Victor. Like, it's... is discard fodder. Like, you could just play it for randomly getting 10 damage on your opponent's Nexus. It's a 4 mana 4/4. It's just good. Like, I hate this card. This is dumb and bad. To be fair, now it's dumb and bad, but at least it's a 4/4. Like, at least you're playing a 5 mana 4/4.
This went from being a complete joke to being like a joke that isn't funny. So now it's just kind of in that place where like it's actually almost kind of a card, and I'm not even considering it. Whereas before it was so bad that I'd be like, man, I should make a dick around this.
Yeah, like Ruined Rex is one of those cards where it's like, if you played a pick a card last turn, and then this turn you use Rummage, and then you play Ruined Rex after that, you're like, Pog, look at all this value. I hit 4 times. Also, by the way, that's literally like the most you'll ever get. Guaranteed is 4 times off of this. They increased it from 5 to 6. Who's drawing 6 cards before they play a 5 mana card?
Why is there even a limit on it at all? If somebody manages to draw 50 cards in a turn, kudos to them, they should win the game.
I agree. If your opponent draws 50 cards in a turn and then plays a 5 mana card, you should just accept that they won. Like, I don't understand. This is dumb, but on the chance that you get really lucky and you get a 4 proc, and you play this on 5, and it's a 5 mana 4/4 that maybe kills 2 minions, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good card in literally only Jinx Twisted Fate, which has never seen like even tier 2 play. But
I don't even think it's good in that, because Jinx will never level in this deck if you're drawing this many cards.
True.
Like,
but it's you're discarding cards to draw them essentially. It's just, I don't know, it's not that good. Coral Creatures buff. I kind of played this card anyway. In like any Fizz deck, I just slotted it in. Just cause.
Yeah, this card was already sitting to play, but it getting 1 extra health, it's a 1 attack mitten. Like, who cares? It's not really that big of a buff, even.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good buff, because it's a 2 mana card, right? It's not a 1 mana card, so... I mean, it having a tune... No, I didn't think it needed a buff, but I do think it's not bad that it got one.
Yeah, I guess. It's not a strong buff in any means. I don't know, maybe this will make a difference, but as far as I'm concerned, this is like barely a patch. I know.
Yeah, it's kind of a 1 mana 1/3 that makes a 1 cost spell. Which is good, but
like we've discussed, the difference between 2 and 3 health isn't that big. The difference between 3 and 4 is huge.
Yeah. The difference between 1 and 2 is also huge. But...
Yeah.
Ascended's Rise. This card is a joke. It sucks. It went down from 7 to 6. Wow, it's still a 6 mana slow speed spell. It's funny because I've done this before to where I have played all of the Ascended characters, had a Sundisk on board. I was like, alright, I have my Renekton on board, I have my Nasus on board, I have my Azir on board. I play my Ascended's Rise, and then they like aftershock my my Sundisk, and then I hit surrender.
Yeah.
So
make this a fast speed spell, maybe.
This comes too late. Well, if it was a fast speed spell, you would
play
level
it
your
on turn 3.
Where do you come from? Whatever, it doesn't matter. You can play it on turn 3, but you have to also have a 2 mana champion then. No, you have to save up your mana twice. It doesn't just level up your Ascended allies. They have to be on board. They don't level up in deck.
Turn 4.
But they don't level up in deck.
You have to have... Don't you have to have them on board?
You do. You have to have them on board.
Yeah, so... You'd have to, like, have the Ascended allies on board.
They made Sundisk better.
Yeah, I know. Matter.
Why did you ask me to introduce myself if you didn't want me to introduce myself?
I'm not cutting that. So Karina Marazza. This card was really good in, when Vi first came out. This card was pretty good. Because you ran Vi in, like, a control PNZ deck with Karina, and, it was basically just challengers and spells from Shadow Isles. And I liked that deck a lot.
The thing I
And
keep
then it got
coming back
nerfed
to-
100 times.
the thing I keep coming back to with this card is if that Surge just got a buff where now it takes 3 damage to all units. It is all units, which will hurt your on board, but
Hmm.
like the chance you're killing 5 of the cards in your deck for like a late game card, which actually could matter, especially in P&Z where you draw a decent amount, to deal maybe 1 to 5 damage. Probably most often going to be like 2 damage to all enemies.
Yeah.
It's
It's
9 mana for that effect.
it's
I don't know,
often 3 in this kind of deck, but it's never 5. And if it
Like-
is 5, you're killing 5 of your spells. You're literally just destroying 5 of your spells.
Yeah, that's really not something you want to be doing.
But it does deal Nexus damage, so there's a chance.
You just play that card to end the game, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Yeah,
always.
so the
end that game.
stats don't matter. Is my point here? Is that you're only using it for the effect, which already isn't a great effect, and then the stats aren't gonna change.
Well, the stats do matter, because if you get like a 1 draw and it does 1 to the enemy Nexus, and then your opponent's board is totally fine, at least you have a 9 mana 8/8. Like a 9 mana 6/6 is just like, if you miss the effect, it's you lost basically.
That's true, but I think that the difference between a 6/6 and an 8/8 is not that significant. It's become more significant in more recent patches, especially with like Fury units and like Targon has a lot of really big units where having a little bit more health and attack does matter. But I feel like once you get above 6 attack, 6 health, most of the units kind of
I mean, you're
blend
right.
together and how strong they are. Unless if they have Overwhelm.
If they
If this card
don't,
had Overwhelm, this would be a huge buff.
Well,
I
think.
disagree.
if you don't have Overwhelm or Elusive at 9 mana, your stats kind of don't matter.
Hey, back alley barkeep buff. Hey, it's like my favorite card in the entire game. Except kind of not, because you could get cards outside of your region, but that might be good for things like, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of a buff and kind of a nerf. Like, the body's better, but you've got a lot higher chance of getting cards that just don't do anything for you. Because if you're not in the regions that you're in, there's a lot higher chance you're going to get, like, some, like, ephemeral card you can't use, or some, like, Fury
Admittedly,
card.
though, I feel like if you're
Straight.
playing back alley barkeep, you're happy with this change.
I am.
I don't
That's
think-
why I'm not upset
I
about
feel
this.
like this is almost certainly just a buff.
I think it's sometimes a nerf, to be fair. Because, like, if you know what cards are in your regions, you can, like, technically prepare better for it. But also, this card was so...
cannot.
You can. You can with some things.
You can technically.
But
In reality.
this card was so bad that it didn't matter that you could do that.
Yeah.
It's
I'm-
still that bad. Don't get me wrong, it's still terrible. Like, a 4 mana 3/3 is not good. And also the only time this card is even playable is if you play multiple of them, which are still 4 mana 3/3s, which is, once again, not good. But if you are a player of Back Alley Barkeep, which I like to consider myself a Back Alley Barkeep player,
As am I. I love this card. This is my favorite card in the game. It's so much fun.
you just play it because you get a bunch of random bullshit that you just throw out all over the place,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
hope
you-
it
you-
works.
You know for a fact I'm getting that buff to Cindy to Rise every time I play this card, though.
Yeah,
right?
dude, every time. So that's why it's a good change, because it just makes this card more fun. Like, you'll get like a random like Destiny's Call off Back Alley Barkeep that'll buff your like elusive Poro to 9/9. It'll be super pog.
This is in the same line as the Poro Herder buff, where those decks are still kind of joke decks. I mean, they can sometimes win games, but they're pretty much joke decks. But it's nice to have them buffed and feel a little bit better to play.
Yeah, for sure. I like this. It's fun. Buried Sundisk.
This actually matters because
Super doesn't matter, bro.
no, it does because now you don't lose the draw. You get an extra card and mana on your first turn if you're playing Mono Shuriba.
Oh, that's true. You do get an extra draw. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I'm like, it
Playing
doesn't
that
matter
has
because you just play
Good
it on
one
one.
drops.
It does have pretty good 1-drops, but none of the Shurima 1-drops advance the Sun Disc, which is fine, but
Yeah.
You have an extra card in your hand. Overall.
Play. You do not lose the tempo from playing Sundisk.
Yeah, and you can use this full mana later. I think it's a decent buff. I actually think maybe
Look,
Monoshima could.
it's a buff. It's a buff. It's not a real buff. Like
it's not gonna make Monoshima like a great deck, but it could be like maybe a little bit.
Monoshrima's probably like my second or third most played deck in this game. Yeah, so this deck is trash anyway. This buff does pretty much nothing because the best deck in the game right now is Ahri Kennen, which runs Homecoming, and if they Homecoming your Sundisk when you're like 2 away from it evolving, you hit the surrender button. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole
card
deck.
that gives it spell shield.
Yeah, you can do that, which is necessary, but also you have to draw it, and your opponent has to not be running like Divergent Pass too, because that comes down faster than the spell shield card. That just breaks it, and like Aftershock breaks it, and Crumble breaks it, and that one Noxus card breaks it.
Is a 2-mana card.
I thought it was a 3-mana card. So it comes down on the same turn. Divergent Pass is also a 2-mana card.
Yeah, I got a Divergent Pass on disc on 3, though.
Yeah, you are. If they drop Sundisk, you literally just play your removal on it, because that's their win con, and you know if you remove it, they lose. And that's why this card is bad. That's the end of my tip talk. Vengeance going to 6. I think this card needed this.
I think it needed it, but also, oh boy, am I not looking forward to more Shadow Isles buffs. To be fair, it's Control Shadow Isles, which is a lot less toxic, but still not happy about this. I don't think Shadow Isles as a region needed a buff like this, but maybe doing this, maybe next patch they'll be able to nerf some of the other cards that are a little bit scary, like the Undying, or cards like that.
Do not need to nerf Undying.
I think that that card doesn't need a nerf necessarily, but I think that the region is very powerful now, and this just makes the region
has
even more
always been very powerful, and I agree. I think the region could use some nerfs. It's not where they should put it. They have a lot of scary aggro. I'd be happy to see them nerf some of Shadow Isles aggro. They won't.
They've nerfed Shadow Isles aggro for like the past 5 patches, bro.
Well, they nerfed Ephemeral at least a decent amount for a while.
They didn't like nerf Ephemeral that much, actually. They nerfed Hecarim like 1 time, and then they buffed him to where he's better than he used to be when they nerfed him. Well, kind of. He summons 1 less rider, which matters, but he's just unplayable because your units just die. And
also they added a healing into the game, which made decks that don't immediately play out a bunch of minions to block stuff with.
Yeah, when the only healing in the game was Tavern Keeper and Health Potion, Hecarim was way better. Yeah, so anyway, Vengeance. I'm okay with this. I like Control. This card was trash at 7, especially because most people don't play cards that cost more than 7 mana, at least not units. Like, plenty of spells.
I play 3 of Vengeance in my best deck.
Well, Vengeance is now better, so it'll be even better. So, it just feels bad to Vengeance like a 4 mana card, is all I'm saying. And now you can, Vengeance a 4 mana card and feel good about it. Unless it has Spell Shield. But, then you just deal with it in a different way. But it's a good buff.
Vile
I like it.
At first.
True, but you have to run Vile as well, which you don't always want.
You gonna not run Vile in Shadow Isles?
Yeah, there's plenty of decks that don't run Vile. It's in my opinion, Vile's fallen off a little bit.
I think that
it's certainly not Pokey Stick.
The other thing to say about that buff is that one card that makes it strike your Nexus and then destroy it, That card is a lot less necessary now. That card is a lot worse. Because now Vengeance is 6 mana. Like, you might as well
Atrocity?
just wait for 2. I forget the name of it. No, the one...
Atrocity?
No, not
Oh,
Atrocity. The one that...
Despair?
Atrocity can actually... Fun fact, Atrocity can target units other than the... things other than the enemy nexus. Yeah, I meant
I was
Despair.
gonna say, this doesn't have any effect on Atrocity, that's why I was confused. Yeah, Despair?
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people main deck Despair.
That's true.
Some people do.
Despair
I've
is
seen some
kind of
control
funny sometimes.
I think it's all. I mean, I use it sometimes when I draw a second Viego.
Can't you Despair Teemo into your own Nexus to put mushrooms on the enemy Nexus? I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Yes, you can. You can do that.
Anyway, so Golden Crush Bot is now a tech. This does nothing for McDonald's, but for that one Jace card that just came out, now it's a 4/7, a 3 mana 4/7 sometimes, which is kind of nice.
I mean, this card just should be a tech because it looks like it is. So
yeah, but on top of that, there's way more cards that should be techs in P&Z if they were gonna do that. Like Assembly Bot should be a tech, or Guardian Plaza should be a tech, but they're not. But yeah, they should be.
Well, those cards might be. Well, Assembly Bot maybe should be a tech because it looks like it's a tech, but it shouldn't be a tech because it would be insane.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that this card being a tech, I think it, like just have a unit that has a body with no other tags or anything, no other text. I think it's a smart idea to give those cards at least a tag, like a unit type tag, because then maybe they can still see play. And like early on in the game, when you just have units be like, oh, this is a 3 mana 2/5, those are good stats, those are good numbers. Whereas later on, you could come back to this card and be like, hey, it's a tech card. Because this is one of those cards that you get early on in the game to make your decks where you don't really know how the game works. It's equivalent to like Magma Rager, right? Where it's like, oh, 3 mana 2/5, that's an extra stat up on a normal 4-cost unit. A 3-cost unit, excuse me.
I thought you were talking about Magma Rager. I'm like, well, actually, it's like the opposite, right? It's like a...
Well, no, but it's a similar thing where it's like, oh, it's the stats are good, but it doesn't have any text. But, you know, I like this allocation of stats. Where later on, you can come back to it and be like, hey, there's a tech card. Maybe I can slot this back in and it can have a second timer around. This is not a card that most people run, right?
I mean...
This is giving it a chance to be run in some niche.
You can run it in the McDonald's, like, Heimerdinger deck.
Okay, you're going to have to explain what McDonald's Heimerdinger is, because I don't know what that is.
Okay, so there's a card for
It's
1
just a
mana.
tech
It's a 1 mana 1/3. If you play a tech with a keyword, it gets a keyword.
Yeah, I've seen that card.
And then if you play another tech with another keyword,
McDonald's because it
gets that keyword too.
card looks like it's a McDonald's French fry.
Yeah, he looks like
okay.
McDonald's French fries. He's like he has a red body with a bunch of yellow things sticking out of the top.
Okay, that kind of answers my question, I guess.
Hidden Pathways is now just the Hidden Words reputation card, and that other 4 mana draw card from
I don't know why this happened. I guess they felt bad because they were bullying Bandle City really hard in this patch.
This is a nerf, not a buff. What?
Yeah, it's a nerf.
Wait, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they made it cost 1 more mana.
Yeah.
It
used to cost 3, now it costs 4. So it's the same as other draw 2 cards in the game.
I misread this.
Which is fair. Now
it.
It's the same as other draw 2 cards.
Why are they bullying Bandle City so hard?
Because that card is broken. I mean, that region's broken.
Minimorph is still a burst speed spell. Region is still like impossible to deal with, I think.
Minimorphs I think is just the thing they should have dealt with, and then anything else I didn't really care. Okay, and Mayor.
Yeah, the Mayor nerf is reasonable. I think Mayor and Minimorph are the big problem.
But this is fair. I didn't think Hidden Pathways was broken. A lot of people might not run it now. I don't know. It's just a 4 mana draw 2. Every region pretty much has a 4 mana draw 2. Actually,
I think what they should have done. I think what they should have done with this is they just should have made it. They should have kept it 3 mana, and then made it harder to get it to that point.
Instead, make it created 3 cards.
Yeah, so
Then
you actually have to run something around a little bit more, like create 3 cards that game, because almost every deck in the game is going to be able to proc this, regardless.
yeah,
If
it's
you're
not
running Bandle
hard.
City, it's going to be incredibly easy to create or play 2 created cards. That would make a difference as well, you know.
And then there's new skins. Trundle's the only one with an animation, so it's the only one anyone's gonna buy. Pog. Yeah, they're all world breakers. Looks cool. New board. Looks neat. Chip as a world breaker chip.
So, what would you give this patch overall? What do you feel about it?
Honestly, I think they nerfed things that needed to be nerfed. And they did buff some things that were kind of bad. There was a lot of champ changes. But I was kind of hoping for more buffs to, like, worthless cards than this. Like, I don't know. It's not a small patch. It's a big patch.
Personally, I think that they made meme decks better, which is, you know, great for me because I love playing meme decks. But then, like, because, you know, they made Iceborn Legacy and Back Alley Barkeep and Poro Herder. They all buffed those, which are like great. Like, you can, those decks are still bad, but they're gonna be more fun now. Whatever, a little bit more competitive. And then they decided to randomly buff a bunch of decks that were already good and make them incredibly scary. Don't know about that. Like, I don't think Iceborn Shaman needed the buff. I don't think the 4-4 from, I forget the name of it. The Piltover 4-4 it gives you 2
the rat. I don't like Chump Wump
yeah.
buff either.
Chump, that's it. That's like,
I don't
why?
think Chump Wump is broken, and I think it probably will be fine, but, like, I hate that card. Like, I don't want it to be buffed.
Personally, I don't really like this patch, but I'm
not
glad
a
that
huge
it's not terrible. It's not terrible. There's some good things about it, but
I think the biggest thing in this patch for me that, like, I think actually matters, actually 2 things, is Vengeance change and Kindred change. That's pretty much it. I think the only thing in this patch that, like, actually is big and meaningful and matters and does something is that. I think everything else is kind of
Chomp Wump and
oh,
Frostbite Shaman.
and Scion nerf. I actually think Scion's gone, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Screw Scion. This patch is gonna make me very sad.
I am excited to play with Iceborn Legacy.
Mare Shellfolk and Hidden Pathways nerfs are gonna make me very sad.
I don't know. I'm excited to try Monoshrima. Maybe if I go, like, legit just a Zareth Landmark Destruction Monoshrima deck, cut a Zir, maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be fun. Who knows? Probably won't be. Maybe I could run Ascended's Rise in it. Level up a Nasus. I don't know, man. I could play Back Alley Barkeep. Yeah. Pog. I don't know. I don't know. It's not that exciting. I'd give it like a 6, maybe.
I'd give it like a 4. I'm very not happy with this patch, but that's okay. Anyway.
I think, like, they did a lot of good things. Pretty much I like everything they did. But then they just shafted Shellfolk. So, you know. Which is my favorite card in the game. So.
Yeah, I really like Shellfolk too, and Mirror Mage. I don't know.
Other than that, the patch is good. I
think probably you should cut the video.
Yeah, needed Ionia nerfs. That's basically it. Didn't get Ionia nerfs, needed Ionia nerfs.
Is there even an Ionia card in this patch?
No.
No.